Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
We have reached the halfway point in this Monday edition, the 5th day of April, 2010. I've looked at all the different factors that are converging and have been saying for over 3 months that I believe the government is going to start staging terror attacks and fake raids on militias and Tea Parties and others as a demonization tactic. That's coming up later in the hour. Also, we're going to get into the economy. Also, Illinois Congressman, I don't worry about the Constitution. We're going to play that video. We are simulcasting at prisonplanet.tv. I want to get into the attacks on free speech that are going on and that are being called for as well. But right now, let's start going to your phone calls. Let's talk to Ernie in California. Thanks for holding, Ernie. You're on the air.
Hey, Alex. Okay, I got just three things. First of all, I'd like the people to get in touch and understand how evil these bankers are, to read the 1944 Bretton Woods Conference so that they know that all these bankers were pulling everybody's money together before the war was even over. A couple other things. First of all, the stupid congressman that says the island's going to tip over. Hilarious. The other thing, Clinton admitting that his free trade agreement wiped out the rice growing for Haiti and basically made them starving. And the last thing I'd like to ask, what about the State Bank of North Dakota and how that runs totally separate and is having no problems? Why can't every other state do what the state of North Dakota did in 1919?
Absolutely. That's a big part of the solution, is getting the power of credit in the government hands instead of the government violating the Constitution and giving up that power and giving it to a private banking cartel under the 1913 Federal Reserve Act.
Yeah, and one other thing, just for the guy was found a little stoned, the first caller. They did find a giant pyramid off the Bimini coast in Atlantic that is a huge, huge pyramid underneath the water. So other than that, thank you, Alex. Let's rock on. Let's beat these bastards.
I appreciate the call, Ernie. Yeah, we don't screen calls on your topics, but we are going to start not having callers on, John, who sound like they're stoned. If somebody has trouble talking, they're not on. Also, the phone has to have decent quality. We're implementing some basic things here. Let's go ahead and talk to Steve in Illinois. Steve, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi. Ronald Reagan made me sit up and take notice when he brought in two things back in 1980. One was deregulation. The other one was tax incentives to move big business offshore. And they're still doing that today as we speak.
But it wasn't real deregulation. They just gave the banks and mega corporations more power to get more government contracts. It's not deregulation. It's not privatization to have corporations become government.
Yeah. I wish when you have Ron Paul on, too, he would bring up something about throwing people in jail. I never hear of anybody doing that. I'm no Johnny-come-lately with all this stuff. I wish when Jesse Ventura comes on tomorrow, he wouldn't drop the ball on this one, maybe. Don't worry about 9/11 as much as 9/10, when billions was traded in airline stocks. They were going to follow it. It was all computerized, but it died on the vine somehow. And they said this would be a piece of cake following who brought these towers down, that because there was...
That's right. That was in AP and Reuters, and then it all got shut down when it turned out the executive director of the CIA was running the record put options on American and United, Buzzy Krongard. Really good points. I haven't dropped the ball on that. I've probably done, more than 10 interviews with Ron Paul out of the close to 100, where we bring up state grand juries indicting politicians for things that are openly criminal. And I call every day for moving towards criminal charges against the private banking shadow government. So you must have missed those shows. And Ron Paul was on in the first 25 minutes, in the first half hour of the radio show. Ron Paul was on with us, so that'll be in the podcast and re-aired on stations. And when the show restarts, coming up about an hour and 55 minutes, that will re-air. It'll be the first thing that you'll hear is that Ron Paul interview that we have with the congressman, the goodly congressman from Texas today. Okay, more of your calls at 1-800-259-9231. Love the different directions and angles the callers take us. We'll take your calls straight ahead.